Perception. The way we attach meaning to things or people. It helps us discern the world we live in. Perception acts like a filter for interpreting our experiences, and it is essential for survival. It can also lead one to disconnect from reality. Most of my life, I was deluded that my hair was not synonymous with growth. Hello listeners, I'm Ganiyat, project manager by day, natural hair obsessed always. Thanks for tuning into Unraveling the Knots, where I like to shed more light and help you shed less hairs. Today, I'm discussing why your afro or kinky hair is not growing. I don't know about you, but I want to grow long, healthy hair. I'm always excited when I see natural afro hair influencers with waist-length hair. At some point, I started feeling like a doubting Thomas because I tried so many measures to grow my hair past shoulder length without any luck. Well, hair growth is a phenomenon that many people are interested in, and it is impacted by the combination of our genetics and external factors like diet and hair care practices. But when it comes to afro or kinky hair, our hair type has been riddled with so many misconceptions, which I believe affects our ability to achieve longer hair. And I'm sure some of you have heard of these misconceptions. They include afro hair is weak. I've also heard the opposite. Afro hair is strong. But if our afro kinky hair is strong, it should grow well, even when subjected to harsh treatment, right? Another one that's very common that I also really believe in is the fact that afro hair doesn't grow past a certain point. I don't really believe that anymore though. Another misconception is the fact that looser hair types are better and grow better than afro or kinky hair. I'm sure you've heard this a gazillion times. Afro hair is impossible to manage. And this really shocks me. You don't need to wash your afro hair. What? Honestly, I can relate with these misconceptions. I had different phases in my hair care journey, which I shared in previous episodes of the podcast. I've gone through my I can't stand my hair phase to my I want to do anything to grow my hair but I'm clueless phase to my I'm now a better learner and caring for my hair phase. Goodness. I remember a few years ago when I used to go to a certain salon to get my hair done. This was a natural hair salon, and I would usually go there to have my hair washed and, then twisted by a specific cosmetologist. Well, to be fair, she did a fantastic job with my hair. With all the care she offered, my hair still didn't really grow. I remember having a conversation with her one day, and I asked her for tips to help improve the growth of my hair. And she gave me this interesting look and said, "Your hair does not grow." I had been seeing this stylist for over 2 years. And upon hearing what she said, I felt so sad. And for a minute, I actually accepted that her verdict on my hair was final. But when I was forced to distance from her during COVID, I realized that I was completely wrong about my hair. And more importantly, I realized that she was so wrong about my hair. Now, I'm going to dive into why our afro hair does not grow. I won't be pointing out what you're not doing, but I'm going to be focused on the psychology behind why we don't tend to see growth. So what are the underlying factors that's actually affecting our kinky or afro hair's ability to flourish? The most important thing I would say is our mindset. And this is the biggest problem towards afro or kinky hair. The fact is, we manifest what we believe. Some of the mindsets that I've heard regarding kinky hair is the fact that, of course, and I mentioned this before, afro hair does not grow long. The other one is we really want quick fixes, right? So coming back to afro hair does not grow long, Some of us with Afro hair or kinky hair usually believe that our hair cannot grow past a certain point. But is this actually the truth, or have we been programmed by society and then bought into this false narrative? The reality is hair grows, whether kinky, whether curly, wavy, or straight. According to the Trichological Society, hair grows about half an inch per month on average, except one is dealing with hair loss or genetic issues. Our hair does grow. And if you're experiencing hair loss, I'd really recommend seeking the services of a trichologist or a dermatologist. And now for quick fixes. As human beings, it is part of our nature to want what we want when we want it. But there is no way to cheat the natural process or systems involved in hair growth. I have never heard of any remedies that can double the rate of hair growth. Another underlying reason why our hair is not growing is because we do not know our hair. Honestly, caring for Afro hair can sometimes feel impossible. I know. I've lived that life. The lack of knowledge makes it difficult for most of us to properly care for our kinky or Afro hair. Coupled with the fact that there isn't a lot of research on Afro or kinky hair, achieving our hair goals can feel way more difficult. It's hard to give our Afro or kinky hair the treatment it deserves when honestly we barely know our hair. We tend to play the comparison game by treating our hair like it's those of other hair types. Unfortunately, we tend to also follow hair care practices that work for looser hair types. And I've done this. I'm so guilty of this, I would say, in the past. For example, I don't know why I thought it made sense for me to be combing my kinky hair with a fine-tooth comb that are more suitable for looser hair types. And I feel like the most obvious reason why our hair is not growing, like the psychology behind the most obvious reason why our hair is not growing, as long as we'd like it to, is because we just don't have the willingness to grow longer hair. In my experience, I've heard and learned how to grow my kinky hair longer. I just felt that it's been, hard. I've felt that it's just too much work. I felt that, why do I really need to go through all this to grow my hair? But the reality is the only way to get longer kinky hair also requires putting in the effort. So now that I've shared the core reasons why our kinky or Afro hair is not growing, I want to shift gears to talk about some important concepts to help you achieve longer kinky hair. The first point I want to make is I think it's important for us to recognize the difference between retention and growth. As I mentioned previously, like any hair type, our coily or kinky or Afro hair definitely grows. But I feel the key questions we should be asking ourselves is, are we putting in the effort to retain the hair that is growing? And do we want to? We definitely can. Visually, our kinky hair looks short because of our dear friend shrinkage. Shrinkage is a major factor that prevents us at times from seeing the real length of our hair. But don't let shrinkage fool you. Our hair does grow, and we can keep the inches with proper care. Interestingly, shrinkage is a healthy sign for kinky hair. If your hair is shrinking, that means your hair has a good balance of elasticity, which is a great indicator for your hair health. The second point about the important concepts for growing longer kinky hair is focusing on kinky or coily or Afro hair needs. It's crucial for us to use hair care measures that are appropriate for our hair. We should not be focused on using tips for straight hair when our hair is kinky. Our hair structures are different. What's the difference between straighter or looser and kinkier hair is the curl pattern. The consequence of having tighter coils is that oils from our scalp, called sebum, can't coat our hair strands from root to ends. So sebum helps moisturize and protect the scalp and hair strands. As expected, sebum can easily migrate down straight hair. But when you have kinky or afro hair, we need to rely on other than sebum to moisturize our hair. Unlike people with straighter hair, they get that benefit of sebum migrating from their roots to ends. We don't have that luxury. And this makes our hair a bit more fragile and easily susceptible to damage, which is why it's important for us to utilize external measures to help hydrate and moisturize our hair. Another important note when it comes to kinky or afro hair needs is the fact that we really need to be gentle with our strands. Our hair is fragile. And in order for it to thrive, it needs to be treated with some serious TLC. What I normally encourage my friends and family to do when it comes to caring for their kinky or afro hair is to manipulate their hair while it's damp. Also use wide tooth combs or your fingers as you're trying to walk through your hair strands. And when it comes to styling your afro or kinky hair, use low manipulation and protective styles. They are great at helping you retain length because the constant grooming of our kinky hair can feel like a lot and cause the ends of our hair to break. The final concept I'd like to talk about when it comes to growing longer kinky hair is, of course, your lifestyle. There are a range of day-to-day activities or practices that we engage in that can improve or hinder the growth of our hair. When it comes to lifestyle considerations for hair growth, there are so many things to cover. I would not be able to dive into each and every aspect for lifestyle that might be impacting our hair growth. Rather, I'm just going to ask questions, and I would encourage you to assess and reflect on these questions to better understand the things that you might be doing to impact your hair's ability to flourish. For instance, are you eating wholesome foods? Do you go through a lot of stress? Are you great with managing stress? Are you struggling with hormonal imbalance? Do you take care of your hair and scalp? Do you protect your hair from dryness? Are you comfortable with rough handling or over manipulating your hair? Do you have a routine in terms of how you manage your hair? And also, what type of hair care products are you using? Coming back to the main question for today's episode, is it possible to grow waist-length kinky hair? Yes, it's definitely possible to grow long kinky hair. I guess the more important question is, how badly do you want it? I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Unraveling the Knots. Email me your questions about Afro-textured hair using the email address utkinhair@gmail.com. Please be sure to rate my show on wherever you get your podcast and share this episode with someone who will benefit from it. Talk to you next time.